Hello and welcome to Fire in the Valley. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by the Hazel Thomas. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hi. How are you today, Pete?
Awesome. Listen, thank you for coming on the show. It's lovely to meet you. So tell us, who are you? What are you doing? Where are you from?
So my name's Hazel Thomas. I'm a mum of three predominantly. I've got three little people, 8 and under. And for me, life is all about kind of trying to create passive income streams and work around, create a lifestyle that works around them while still bringing in some money. So that's kind of what my fire in my belly is. I've recently created a kind of a concept called the Passive Income Mum, which is growing and developing. And it's really just about getting out there and helping other people understand what they do, how to go about creating, passive income streams and provide some support in how to do that, because it was something that I always wanted to do. I knew it was important to do and never really quite knew where to start. So it's about just being a source of support and help out there for other people, especially mums. Life's crazy busy, but it's about just being a bit of support. So that's me. That's kind of what my fire in my belly is. I'm based in South Wales in the UK. And that's kind of what else do you want to know? was that
well, give us the definition. What is passive income before we go too far?
Okay, so passive income is all about it's about doing a job once and getting paid repeatedly for doing that job. So some people liken it to beach money or a pension style income. It's about having money that comes in whether you're at work or not, and that can be massively important, and it gives you options, it gives you choices.
Well, that's great. I like that. I mean, it's the ongoing basis, as you say. You do the work once, you buy it, the asset once, etc., and then it continues on for however long. Right?
Absolutely. And there's so many different ways of creating residual income and passive income. And for me, it was a whole minefield that I just never knew about. I've been in a network marketing business now for 10 years. That's been kind of growing and building up alongside my photography business. I was a photographer still am a photographer, I suppose, really. You never really lose it. I set that up in 2007. And when I realized that, I was getting to the stage where I liked the idea of settling down and getting married and having babies and things, it occurred to me that perhaps my photography wasn't going to keep paying me to go on maternity income and maternity and keep having income coming in, because with my photography, I'd go out and I'd do the job and I'd get paid for it, and I'd do the job and I'd get paid for it. And I stopped working, I'd stopped getting paid. So I knew that I needed to create something else, something that would give me some options and choices to be able to be the mum that I wanted to be, but not really. For me, I didn't want to sit around and not have any control over the income that was coming in. So
it's amazing, like as you say, with photography, which is great, it's very creative and all the rest, but if you don't turn up and create, then you don't get paid.
Absolutely. And I worked very, very hard. I worked a lot of hours and I really spent a long time building my business up. I was out networking. I mean, I'd go to the opening of an envelope if I thought it might generate me business or make new connections. So, I was out all the time and really kind of building the business, and it was very successful. However, it very quickly occurred to me that, all I'd really done was built myself a job, because, it didn't pay me when I wasn't there and people bought me. I couldn't outsource what I was doing. I couldn't kind of get other people to stand in for me because people wanted me to be the one behind the camera. So it was a bit of an eye-opener. All those years, all those skills that I built up didn't actually stand for anything when I wanted to take time out. And that was it hit quite hard. So I figured it was about time to do something that would work alongside it and support it. And gradually that's developed on, and there's kind of a few different ways in which that's kind of created going forward, and long may it continue to kind of build for me as well. And I just want to share that with other people and help other people get clarity as to what's right with them. And that for me is what I love to do. I genuinely just love helping people, and that gives me a nice kind of warm, gooey feeling inside my belly. So if I can help people and support them, that's fab.
Take us from the sausage then to the sizzle. I mean, what's the overall dream here? What's the intention and the long-term view?
The long-term view, I mean, financial freedom is what I want. By financial freedom, I mean, I want more money coming in every month automatically than is going out on a regular basis. Now, you get different levels of financial freedom. Just because you attain financial freedom at one point doesn't mean your life doesn't develop or change, and your expenditure doesn't change, and therefore you need to up your game on a financial basis in order to kind of maintain financial freedom. But that's ultimately what I'm out for. I want to be able to create a lifestyle that works whether I'm there or not, so that it gives me choices. It gives me choices whether I want to spend time with my family. It gives me choices whether or not I want to just take time out or kind of, focus on one particular area of my business, and not because I need to focus on that area because it's going to bring me in money. I want to focus on it because it's going to be doing some good or helping people or supporting people. And that for me is really, really important. But you need the financial structure and support in place to kind of create that in the first place, I guess.
No, it makes sense. That does. So talk to us then. So passive income mum. So you've really sort of specifically done that. I mean, is this almost aiming at a younger version of yourself? Is it something to help other people come through that journey as well, or what's your vision and mission there?
So the passive income mum was created actually only a few months ago. It kind of came to me. They always say J.K. Rowling, when she was sat in that coffee shop trying to think up, Harry Potter, it just kind of came to her in an instant. And while I'm not claiming to be J.K. Rowling on any stretch, for me, I was looking to create a bit of a brand that I could kind of take out there on social media. And for me, I wanted it to be about supporting people on a much wider level of across all passive income, rather than just looking at network marketing business or property, which is another area that I'm involved with, or stocks and shares, which I've been learning about over the last few years. There's all sorts of different areas, and I wanted to be able to create a brand that people would relate to for across all the areas that would grow over a period of time. So yeah, the target market is really people like me. I mean, I'm a mum and I'm looking to create passive income, hence the passive income mum. But the target market isn't just mums, it's it's parents, it's people who are juggling life. We're all working around the challenges that comes inherently with having little people in your world, and still being able to kind of create successful income streams around that is a juggle. There's no two ways about it. There's some days when you had a terrible night's sleep and the kids have been climbing on you since 2 o'clock in the morning, and you just can't face doing what you need to do, and that's okay. But then there's other days when you can take on the world and you can achieve everything and still get all the washing done and all the kids fed and everything else that comes along with it. So it's about just helping relate to people. I'm looking to relate to people who are in a similar position to myself, who are like me. They want to create passive income streams. They've got a lot going on in their world. They don't really know where to begin or how it works. And I want to be able to be that voice of support and help for them, just to guide them. I'm not about to sit there and say, oh, you must do this investment or that investment or whatever. I'm certainly no IFA, and that's not what I'm about. But there's a lot of mindset involved in creating passive income streams, and I do a lot of personal development, and that's a massive area. And if I can just help people, give them nuggets and support and guidance and ideas, it becomes really powerful, and gives people freedom to create what's right for them.
So why do you do what you do? Is it for you? Is it for the kids? Who is it for?
But of both, really. I've never been someone that wants to sit around and just twiddle my thumbs. Not that I'm suggesting for a second that any parent does, because that's not what life with kids is like. But I've always been very independent. I've always wanted to have my own freedom financially. My husband's amazing and very, very supportful in every level. But I'm very independent. I want to kind of create my own world. Having said that, I also want to create a legacy for the kids. I want something, not only in terms of financial, none of us are here forever. The only thing that's guaranteed is, what is it they say, death and taxes, I think, isn't it? But I want to be able to give them the life skills that a lot of the development and the growth along this journey has given me. And I feel that the earlier I can give them all the skills on, that are involved in creating personal income and passive income, the better the chances they'll have of getting exactly what they want in the future. So it's about kind of giving people I'm doing it for them as well, so there's a bit of both.
Oh, brilliant. When you say multiple streams, I mean, how many streams are you talking here? Put a number on it for me, will you?
Well, I mean, at the moment, it's there's all sorts of different options. I mean, for myself, I've got a network marketing business which is bringing in a residual income that's given me the opportunity to step away from my photography now. I don't, I do the odd little bit here and there, but I don't have to. So for me, network marketing has been really successful. It's not an industry that suits everybody, and I absolutely understand that. But for me, it's been absolutely brilliant. I'm also I also have a property company which I run with a couple of friends, and through that we are looking at we're growing that, and we've got a couple of rent to rents at the moment. We've got a couple of properties in the pipeline that we're looking to buy and take on. As we've got a couple of Airbnb properties as well. So that's growing, and again that's kind of working on the side. None of them are full-time entities, but they're all bits and bobs that together kind of really make a massive difference. And as I say, I can pick one up and really run with that, and take a little bit off the pedal with the other ones. We've got a mutual contact in the lovely Karen Newton, who's been an amazing mentor to me over the last few years, and she teaches about kind of the 4 key areas of wealth creation. And she teaches about creating income from property, and from business, and from stocks and shares, and also from cash, from bullion. And those are the principles that I've been working on. If you can build up income streams from each of those 4 separate areas, if there's challenges in the markets, the stocks and shares markets, then you tend to find the price of gold goes up, or if there's variations, if one goes down, then you've got backup reserves in the others. And let's all face it, 2020 has been quite a challenging year in many respects. So who knows what's going to happen? And it's all about really just giving myself options and spreading the balance, I suppose, across different areas. So I've got a few stocks and shares. It's not my favorite area, I must confess. It's not something that I spend a lot of time doing. I'm not one for studying charts and graphs. I enjoy collecting the odd bit of bullion from time to time, and following how that goes. But the property and the business side of things are fantastic, and and a great opportunity to focus on and keep growing.
What part of where sort of really gets your juices going? Where do we find you in your sweet spot?
In my sweet spot, the property I love. I really love the property. The network marketing side of stuff again is fantastic because it gets me to help people. The industry the business that I'm in is about genuinely helping people, and I really, really love that too. That's what I get really fired up about, really passionate about, as corny as it sounds, I guess. But the property is really something that I've always wanted to do. My dad thrust a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki under my nose when I was about 14. And I read it and I couldn't put it down, and it just totally rocked my world. I was blown away by it, and that has always stuck with me. And again, all the way through my 20s and the majority of my 30s, I knew it was what I wanted to get involved in, and I just couldn't quite figure out how to get my first foot on that ladder. So working with Karen, and I'm working with another amazing coach, Hazel Ruth Thomas, and working with several different coaches and having mentor and support system is absolutely massive. So I'm keen to give back as well.
And working with mentors and coaches and other organizations, is that something you've always done, or is it something that's fairly new for you?
So I didn't so much when I was in my photography. I did have a business coach, actually, thinking about it for a few years, but it's not something I maintained a lot. That for me, the coaching really started when I joined my network marketing company. That network marketing is all about personal development. We kind of joke around from time to time that we're a network marketing company that's thinly disguised as a personal development company, because it's all about learning the skills to insulate you and grow and develop and protect you from the no's and the frustration, and give you the confidence to be consistent and the skills to just keep growing and keep pushing through all the challenging times. So the coaching for me has been ongoing since I started that 10 years ago, but it's really come into its own in the last couple of years since I started working with both Karen and Alex Louise, as I say. And it's made such a massive difference. I can't recommend the concept of having a coach and having somebody around you that is on a like-minded level, that you can just be open with and be completely frank with and talk to and bounce ideas off. The importance of that is huge. There's an old saying that says you are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And yeah, if you want to upskill, then you want to surround yourself with people who are, you know, at a level that you want to be going to. Surround yourself with people who are where you want to be going. And if you don't like the people that you spend the time with, or you don't like where you are, then look at the people who you're spending the time with. And as harsh as that can be, it all depends on what you want to get out of life, really.
So it's a good time to go to Depol and, you know, disown the family and walk away from your friends, right? Yeah, it's like.
Well, I don't, you know, I would never obviously, you know, recommend that, but everybody has to make a choice. And, you know, yeah, it's if the family aren't necessarily being the support that you want, or you know, going where you want to be going, or, you know, giving you the help and the guidance to do that, then, you know, don't necessarily disown them, but, you know, be conscious about how much time you spend with them and what level of exposure you let yourself have to them. But do then insulate yourself with other people who are like-minded.
I mean, I'm going to make an assumption here, and maybe I shouldn't, but I suppose, I mean, it would sort of maybe suggest that mothers are more susceptible to, you know, sort of extra influences, if you like, and not necessarily positive or negative, you know, because of exposure potentially to other mothers, to, you know, sort of extensions of the kids. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, you know, that fathers aren't too, but it's, you know, there's much more exposure there potentially, and women just very, you know, just think differently to men as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think certainly when, from first-hand experience, when you are ensconced in the whole world of new babyhood, I suppose, when you're a new parent, it's like a whole new underworld of, you know, life that you never even knew existed before. There's, you know, mother and baby groups, there's nappy groups, there's breastfeeding groups. I mean, there's everything that you just never knew existed before. And, you know, the influence is the cross-section of people that you come across. You've got the fact that you've got children in common, and that's massive, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people are like-minded. And again, it's very much about having the strength of mind to understand what you want and where you want to be going as a result of all of what you do, whether it be just with the kids. I mean, even your own style of parenting, choosing how you want to bring your own children up is absolutely massive. And just because you go to a mother and baby group with a handful of other people doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do what they have to do. It's about making conscious decisions and being aware of what's right for you, really.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, because kids generally are not an asset. They're generally a liability until they grow old enough that they get up and leave you, and then they could be an asset, but they've gone. You know, it's like...
yeah, absolutely. Unless you can, you know, get them making money on a significant level at an early stage, but then, you know, that's not always necessarily going to happen. And then you kind of go up against potential parent exploitation. Oh, no. Although my 8-year-old is determined she wants to be the youngest actress to win an Oscar. So who knows, you know?
Listen, anything's possible, right? You know, it's
absolutely. That's what I keep telling her, and it's about creating that belief. You know, belief is huge, absolutely massive, and people have to have the belief that they can achieve what they want. And kids in particular, you know, they don't get taught, even now, they don't get taught about, you know, passive income streams, or, you know, how to make money work for them. They get taught about how to go and get a job and how to get a degree and some good qualifications, because that's going to set them up for life. And that's not how it works these days. Don't get me wrong, I've got a degree. I got, you know, I'm proud of the qualifications that I've achieved and the education that I've had. And I absolutely think that university is something that everybody should do, if nothing, not necessarily for the degree, but also just for the life experience it brings. I had the best 3 years of my life at university. I won't go into, perhaps now's not the time to go into the stories from that, but you know, it's about really just giving you, for me, it's about giving, I want to give the kids the options that, you know, and the choices and the knowledge and the strength of and presence of mind to consciously make their own decisions and know that there's other options available, rather than just getting a job, because there's no job for life these days. You know, you can't walk into a job at the age of 18 and retire from there at the age of 65 or whatever the retirement is. It just doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, it's, for me, you know, one of the things that I'd like to create over time within the community that I want the passive income mum to become is about really just having that ability to help parents educate their children as well, and just, you know, give them that extra kind of strength to achieve what they want in life, and the education that the schools just don't give them.
Do you know what it is? I mean, and they're, I don't know, again, it depends which, you know, in your echo chamber, but it seems to be a lot of pushback about, you know, schools or, you know, sort of fitness for, you know, what was it, testing for capacity? You know, it's like, you know, children need maybe a more bespoke plan, they need a different plan, they need life skills, they need more things, which, but yet then the resources appear to be limited going into the schooling. So it's right. It's this impossible situation, right? You want more, but for less.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I don't think I could be a teacher for love nor money. I take my hat off to all the teachers in the world, especially, you know, during the last kind of 8-9 months. You know, what they've been through is challenging, and I think they do a phenomenal job. I wouldn't switch places with them for love nor money. But I think as parents, we need to take responsibility for the fact that, you know, education is not just on the teacher's shoulders. It's for us to do at home as well, and to take responsibility for. And, you know, if I think the school system as we have it is great to a certain level. You know, it gives the kids the basics. It teaches them to write and read and maths and all the rest of it. But the stuff that, you know, that I would love to get into my children, and the awareness and the development and the ability to grow and communicate effectively, is perhaps something that, you know, I feel I need to take responsibility for, because I can't guarantee that the school system will give that to them. So yeah, take responsibility for ourselves. They're our kids after all.
I mean, what are your kids getting that you didn't get?
What are my kids getting that I didn't get? Well, for starters, they're getting a second language. I mean, I'm in South Wales, and we made the decision to send our children to a Welsh-speaking school, even though neither myself nor my husband speak Welsh fluently. We got the odd patter in. I could probably, you know, manage to order an ice cream or something, but that's probably about the extent of it. But for me, I mean, I always dreamt of I loved doing French at school, and I started it when I was 11, and I kind of, by the time I went to it, got through A levels, I was just about fluent, and, you know, I just about got the hang of it, but I had to work really, really hard at it. And I could see the importance of languages, and that level of communication, just the fact that it opens the brain and widens the brain so much more. And children, when they're young, they're sponges. They just pick it up. It doesn't even bother them. They don't notice it. So I always assumed I'd have bilingual children, and I'd marry a Frenchman, and he'd speak French to him, and I'd speak English, and job done, happy days. And then I married the wonderful Dave from South Wales, and, you know, as amazing as he is, he doesn't speak fluent Welsh. He's great at linguistics, but he doesn't speak fluent Welsh. So I kind of, or French even, so I kind of shelved that idea. But when it came to sending the kids to school, it occurred to me that I did have the opportunity to have bilingual children, just not in the language that I expected. But it's absolutely, you know, we've been so impressed. It's absolutely fantastic so far. You know, the quality of education has been great for them, and they don't know any different. You know, all three of my children come home from school. They haven't yet figured out that they can have conversations that mum and dad can't understand, you know, but our time will come with that, and they'll be talking about us behind our backs, I expect. But you know, for them, just the opportunity to broaden their mind. So language is huge. Are they getting other stuff that we're not getting? We didn't get? I don't know. Not that I can think of, really. I think they. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, just I suppose in the rich dad poor dad world, you know, there's, you know, they suggest sort of different teachings, you know, of, you know, about, you know, I suppose, well, how do you summarize it best? I mean, you know, one sort of academically focused and, you know, time for money, and the other one is the reverse, if you like. It's hard work, but also multiple streams. It's kind of, I mean, would you see yourself as the poor dad? I always get them confused. Which one's
so the poor dad was the one. Yeah, it's a few years since I've picked it up now. I've just always been inspired by it. The poor dad was the one who had a job, who had, you know, the career, who had, you know, left school at 18, and, you know, suddenly you've got to go and get a job, because, you know, that's what's going to see you right through your world. And he was the one that was, you know, always working to make somebody else rich. Never had the freedom to create what he wanted to create. He was always kind of tied to the job. The rich dad was the one that was prepared to, he understood the concept of making money work. He understood the concept of assets versus liabilities. And it's all about it's all about how you do money, isn't it? It's all about, what your attitude is to money. If you've got money coming in, then, do you spend that on something that's going to cost you money, or do you spend that on something that's going to make you money? And understanding the differences between those. So, that's very much what I want to teach my children, and give people the access to understanding and helping them teach their kids as well over time, is the importance of making money work for them, and the differences between assets and liabilities. I was having a conversation with my 8-year-old about it the other day, and just saying, well, look, you got this Christmas money coming in, or you had some money for your birthday, so you can go and buy it spend it on a toy, and that's great, and you'll love that toy and you'll have a great time with it. But what does that, once you finish playing with that toy, what have you got left? Whereas if we can find some way of making that work for you, investing that somehow, and there's different ways in which we can do this. This is what mummy's doing. And then you'll have money coming in that you can go and buy all the toys in the world that you want, and still have some money coming in, because you didn't just spend it on the stuff that's going to give you instant gratification. And she kind of sat there and looked at me for a little while, and you can see the clock's ticking. But, I think that's getting these lessons in early. I wish I'd have had those lessons in early when I was a kid. And I enjoy the conversations with it now, because it makes her stop and think, and it's just second nature to her. It's natural. She won't think twice about it, just like the language doesn't think twice about it at all.
It's interesting that, kids and delayed gratification, but I mean, in some ways it's no difference to an adult to, delayed gratification. I want that now. I know from my parents to ours, my parents were savers, and that's very much, whereas I'm good at paying my debts. I'm good at, sort of covering my bills, doing all that, but yet I will induce debt, so it's completely different. Last generation didn't spend if they didn't have it, so it's amazing how it's changed quite quickly, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're in an instant society now. Everything's instant now. You can, if you need something, you can get it instantly off the computer. You can get Amazon to deliver it in the next day, or, none of this wait until next week when you can get to the shops, or, anything like that. So if even just picking up the phone and speaking to somebody, we've all got mobile phones. We're all available all the time these days, or email or messenger or whatever. It's a much faster, much more instant society these days, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I think the way they used to do it was great, in terms of you save it, don't buy it if you don't want it, if you don't have the money for it. But to a certain extent, I think as well that it's all about understanding how you're spending that money, how what is that going to do for you, is that an asset, is it liability? Do people understand that actually the home that they live in isn't necessarily an asset? It's actually a liability. Whereas if you spend the money to go, instead of getting into your own property to begin with, you perhaps spend the money on going and buying a rental property that will bring you in a return, that you can then go and buy another one that will bring you in a return, and both of them will bring in enough money to go and pay for your own home, so you don't have to pay for it yourself. Then that becomes a completely different entity. Then you've got two properties that are an asset that are paying for the liability, and the money's just going to keep coming in, so you can have whatever size house you want then, and it's understanding the differences between assets and liabilities, and really helping people get clear on that.
Well, just break that down for people there. I mean, in terms of your own home, and people may view it as an asset, or as you say, that may or may not be the case. Just break that down for us, will you?
Well, there's two schools of thought. I mean, yes, a property may appreciate, and in time you're going to get some equity on it, and happy days. But ultimately, it's not gaining you any income, in the short period, in the short term. You're going to live in it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you're not. All it's doing is costing you money, because you've still got to pay out on the mortgage, you've still got to pay out on the running repairs, you've got to pay out on all the bills, but the house is not paying you any money whilst you're living in it. Whereas if you create a property that is, rented out for, I don't know, a HMO or a holiday let, or, even just a single let tenancy where you've got a family living in there, that's bringing you in an income every month. That's bringing you in money that is exceeding, hopefully, if you did set the numbers up right, it's exceeding the expenses that's going out. So the money left over is money that you've got coming in that is going to then pay for you to, the more of those you can get, you can reinvest it, build a pot of money, reinvest that and get another one, build those up, and you can have income that is paying for you to have the house that you want, and you've got that money kind of coming in consistently. Yes, we all have to live in a house, and you accept that you're going to have some liabilities in your world. You're not going to live completely liability free, but it's, some people will stretch themselves and go out there, and I used to be like this. You'd stretch yourself and go out there, think, I'm buying a house, it's amazing, that's the best thing to do, get on the property ladder, it's amazing, but you're only really seeing the returns on it as and when you come to sell that property. It's a liability for you in the meantime. It's the same credit cards. Credit cards can be good debt, credit cards can be bad debt, and again, it's understanding how that works and what the differences are.
It is. I mean, a lot of this is, what you're coming down to here is, what I'm hearing is, a lot of this is information or understanding, right? It's just
Absolutely
looking at your options. You don't have to be rolling in cash and doing all that. So a lot of this is going to come from education.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've learned a lot of this stuff over the years, and I've related a lot of it to me. And don't get me wrong, I mean, am I completely where I want to be yet in terms of financial freedom? No. Have I got more growing to do and more learning to do and more development to do? Yeah, absolutely. But can I help people along the way? Can I help other people achieve or start on the journey to what they want to go? Yeah, absolutely. And if they always say that that if you help enough people get where they want to go, ultimately it's going to help you get where you want to go. And I don't know yet exactly how the passive income mum is going to evolve and where it's going to grow. I have a vision that it will going to go international, and there'll be a great community. There's going to be a blog and a website, and an opportunity for people to get involved, and regular interactions, newsletters, and I don't know, maybe I'll end up writing a column in the daily newspapers, or blog posts. Who knows? The possibilities are endless, and that really excites me, because I can give information, I can give back to people, I can give support, and then if people want a higher level of support, then great. And certainly I'm not the only person out there in the world doing this kind of stuff, but if I can relate it to people who are in a similar position to me and trying to create all this while still juggling the fun that is parenthood, and not having to wait until the kids are off back at school in order to make it happen. Yeah, that would be great. I'd love that. I'd love to be able to give back and help people.
That's great. I mean, and what I'm hearing is, like, there's two sides to this, right? There's sort of, one is, sort of spending money, essentially, it's income, but then there's an asset bank that you're putting in behind that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't get through life without spending money, but it's about your relationship with money and how you are with money, and understanding that you're just aware of what you're spending and whether or not that's actually something that's going to be in your interest. People often joke and and say the really rich people in this world, well, they're rich because they don't spend the money in the first place, and it's quite true. If you can if you can not spend money on lavishly on something that's not necessarily going to get you a return, but it's almost like a kind of a shiny object that will make you feel lovely for a short time. It's that instant gratification again. But if you can kind of resist the temptation to spend noodles money, for example, I mean, we spent we didn't have an excessive wedding, but we certainly had a beautiful wedding that was perhaps slightly more opulent and costly than I would have liked. And yes, did I love every minute of it? Absolutely. Would I do it again, knowing that amount of money could have been invested and be creating me money, whereas all I've got to show for the wedding is a wedding dress that doesn't fit me anymore, cake that's been eaten, I've got wedding dress and a wedding ring and some beautiful pictures and things, but that's all I've got left from that one day. And yes, there's life experiences to be made, but it's about finding that balance. What's more important, having the lavish, shiny object, or perhaps having the strength and the willpower and the awareness to go, maybe I'll downgrade that shininess and siphon off some of the money elsewhere to make it work and become an asset that will create me all the shiny objects, or the ability to have all the shiny objects I want forever and a day in the long run. It's short-term versus long-term, it's creating the long-term plan.
It's amazing, as you say. It's just, striking for a lot of people, where they don't necessarily have a lot of money or whatever, but yet it comes to the wedding day and suddenly money just is created, money is generated, money is because the goal or the need is high enough, right? And yet come to our own longer term investments and things like that, where it's maybe not as focused, let's say, and we just don't necessarily have the same drive, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about, again, it's the shiny objects. I think having that awareness and that peace of mind of what the long-term vision is, what the long-term goal is, and then working back with, I was chatting with Alex Louise, my coach, about this earlier today. So what's the final plan? What's the final goal? And then work backwards and put in place the steps that you've got to do now. If all you can see is what the short-term kind of goals and final plans are, then how can you possibly kind of work out where you're going and set a plan in place? Use a sat nav as an analogy. You get in the car, you sit in the car, you can plug in the postcode to the sat nav, and automatically it gives you it knows exactly where you've got to go. It gives you a great idea of exactly what your next steps are and what you've got to do, but you've actually got to put the gear in the car in reverse and pull out of the drive and start driving and follow the instructions for that to happen. You've got to, but if you get in the car and just say, sat nav, take me where I want to go, it's not going to have any idea of what that destination is, because you've not given it a plan, a goal to work towards. So you've got to know what your end goal is, know what the final plan is, and then work backwards, from there. And that will help you then decide whether or not the shiny object that you want in the short term, whether that be a wedding, a dress for a Christmas party, an amazing present for your kids that, for Christmas, that will they perhaps understand the value of what you've spent on them, or do they really need that much? My 4-year-old, he doesn't care how much I spend on him. All he wants is, I don't know, a toy that he can play with in the bath, or whatever it is, So yeah, having that final goal and then working backwards will help you distinguish whether or not it's worthwhile spending on the big shiny bright objects now, or moving towards the longer goal in the longer term.
Since I don't know how true it is or not, they reckon there was about $250,000 to raise a child or something. I think it's up to
yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
I haven't something along those lines. It's something excessively eye-watering. I haven't necessarily stopped and done the maths. I think I'd probably go into a nervous breakdown. But it's not a cheap business, but it doesn't have to be as expensive as it can be. And I think a lot of the way society is these days, for me, is I see it as very kind of money oriented. You get all the advertising through the TV. I mean, kids, it's all about stuff. It's all about the toys and the material stuff. And the kids see all the adverts on the TV. They hear all the news, and they got all their friends, and they're seeing, they've all got phones, or they're seeing each other's stuff on FaceTime or whatever, and it creates a demand that I think is perhaps a little unnecessary. It doesn't have to be quite that way, but it's just about creating that awareness. People think that that's what they need to be doing. In my experience, they need to be spending those kind of excessive amounts of money, when and don't get me wrong, I mean, I've got a big family. My Christmas shopping bill is not as I'd like it to be, but nonetheless, becoming aware of what you're spending in the first place is a massive step to helping you make that decision as to whether or not you want to spend it, or whether or not there's ways in which you can tweak or amend what you're doing, or create something that you can give somebody.
I mean, out of curiosity, I mean, how are you finding sort of the I suppose interest, but also knowledge levels with sort of mothers, essentially, that as you say, is it something there is a lack of education, or is it well, you tell me, where is it at?
Everybody's completely different. I mean, that's the mothers are a diverse cross section of the population, as are doctors or fathers or policemen or whatever. It's just another title. Everybody has different interest levels. Some people are interested in in creating passive income streams, irrespective of whether they're a parent or whatever their profession is. You know, it's some people have a thirst to learn more, some people have a desire to learn more, some people are not interested, and everybody's different. So, you know, I think the fact that they're parents is irrelevant. You know, really, there's, you know, people out there who want to learn, there's people out there who don't, and I'm just looking to tap into and support the ones that are on a similar journey to myself, I guess, really. And I'm sure there's plenty out there that absolutely are.
I mean, what's the best way, I suppose, for people to get started? I mean, what, you know, assuming they're not sitting on a massive pot of cash, and, you know, really, where would somebody actually sort of say, right, okay, I'm going to make a conscious decision here to explore, to educate, to understand? I mean, where do you go? Where do you start?
Well, again, I would try and start searching out, you know, a coach or some, you know, get involved with a community that is on a similar wavelength. Surround yourself with people who are looking to create the same kind of things as you are, and do the same kind of things as you. Network marketing can provide a fantastic support network for that, because certainly from my experiences at it, there's a lot of people in there, in that world, they're all about personal development, they're all about personal growth, they're all about the long-term plan, and the support network is absolutely massive. So, you know, it's an industry that is largely, or has been, kind of quite misunderstood, I think, over the years. You know, people have created a bit of almost a stigma around it, I suppose, because they didn't necessarily understand how it worked or the benefits of it. But it is absolutely massive. So if people are just looking to create something around what they do already, and are looking to develop something that is going to give them a plan B, build up an income stream, you know, without having to, you know, invest massive amounts of energy or time or money up front, I think that's a great place to get started. And there's so many companies, you know, in the network marketing industry that are, you know, that are there to help. And it's about finding one that resonates with them. And, you know, there's so many different services and, you know, products and services that network marketing can provide. So start doing some research into that would be a good place to start, you know. But again, it's surround yourself with people who are like-minded, find what works for them, sit down and work out what their end goal is, and then start working backwards.
That's true. And as you say, the personal development world is fairly heavily linked as well. You know, and
massively.
as you say, it's once you start sort of lifting rocks and things like that, you never know. It's you know, you never know where you're going to end up, right?
Absolutely. Just take that first step. Just start, you know, just who knows where it's going to end up. And likewise for me with the passive income mum, you know, I don't completely know exactly where it's going to end up or how it's going to end up. But if I'd have waited to start to figure all that out before I started, and before I started kind of creating a little bit of a community and a following, then, you know, I would have never got started. You can't possibly know what curveballs are around the corner, or what life's going to throw at you, or how things are going to evolve. So yeah, just get started. Just take action. That's the most important thing, and what's something that very few people will actually do is, you know, take action on what you want to achieve, and take action consistently, even if it's only a tiny little bit, you know, regularly, every day. It all builds up into one massive, you know, leap. I've got a lot of team members and I'll say to them, look, just do lots of little tiny baby steps. Just keep taking lots of little tiny baby steps every day, because sooner or later you're going to look back and realize you've taken one massive leap, one massive step forward. And yeah, just get started, just do little bits regularly. And that comes back to the consistency that we were talking about earlier as well. You know, do a little bit regularly and keep it consistent, and, you know, build that habit. And there's a fantastic book I've read recently called The Consistency Chain, which is all about, you know, picking one thing. You know, there's the 80-20 percentage, you know, the Pareto principle, you know, the 80-20 rule, where it's, you know, 20% of people are gonna get the results, and 80% of the people are going to want to get the results and never quite achieve it and wonder why. But it's about that consistency, doing things regularly. The Slight Edge is another fantastic book, which, you know, talks about just doing a little bit extra every day. What more can you do? And just keep doing it. Yeah.
It's, I mean, is there a slight crossover there? I mean, you talk about multiple streams of income, and then you talk about focusing on one thing. Is, you know, how do you compare them?
I think it's worthwhile building them up. I think you can absolutely do multiples. I wouldn't necessarily say do them all at once. When you're creating passive income streams, you're creating something for a long-term goal, for the bigger picture, for to achieve something in the longer term. It's not something that you're going to look to do overnight. Creating passive income streams does take that consistency and that awareness and that determination to just keep going and knowing where you're going to go. So start with one, get that working, and then add another one in, and then start working on another one whilst you've got enough skills and knowledge and growth that one is building up in the right way. As I've been doing my network marketing for about 10 years now. The property I've only been in for about 18 months, 2 years. It's not about doing it all at once, because life's stressful enough when you're a parent. You can't keep juggling all the different things at once, but build it up gradually.
Well, there's that thing, they talk about compound, the compounding being was like the eighth wonder of the world, really, isn't it?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely amazing. It's a fantastic concept, and it does make such a massive difference. A little bit regularly makes one giant leap. And it's that old story about the if you could have £1 million or a penny doubled every day for 30 days, which would you have? And read the story and you realize that actually a penny doubled every day for 30 days is far and away more beneficial than just taking the instant gratification of £1 million in your back pocket tomorrow. Thank you very much. So
I was listening to a talk, must have been a year or two ago, and they were talking about children's ISIS, and this is something again that sort of fascinated me. And they were saying, well, it's actually a sort of a child's pension essentially, and they were saying, I think at the moment you can put about 2,500 into a child's pension ISA, but essentially if you were to invest 2,500 every year for the first 18 years, at which point you can't invest anymore, by the time they hit 50, that will likely be £1 million pot. And you kind of go on, okay, part of me selfish going, that's no use to me. But part of me is like, yeah, that's cool. It is cool, right? It's I'm not saying 2,500 is nothing, but at the same time, it's kind of going, do you know what, with persistent, consistent action, that's more than possible. And that's, I think it's a great, again, like the sort of the doubling, it's similar, just to demonstrate quite effectively how useful it is as a tool.
Absolutely. As you say, it's the consistency. It has to just keep going, keep doing the work, upskilling, getting the skills behind you, and it will absolutely pay off. But if you don't take action, if you don't put the effort in and don't know where you're going, how can you ever get there?
It's true. I mean, in terms for yourself then, I mean, what was Hazel wanting to do when she grew up? What was the original plan way back?
Well, when I was little, I wanted to be a bank manageress when I was tiny. Not because I didn't ever want to be like a bank teller and work my way up. I just wanted to go straight in at the top and be a bank manageress. That was when I was kind of about 8 or 9. I don't really remember what I wanted to do throughout my teenage years, but I've never really felt at home in a job. I've done a few over the years, and it just didn't feel like where I wanted to be. As I say, I've always been quite an independent person. I spent most of my 20s traveling. I never wanted to do what ifs. I didn't ever want to get to 80 and my grandkids say to me, oh, well, you could have done this, or did you ever do that, or whatever, and go, well, I could have done, but I couldn't be bothered, or I didn't have the energy, or I turned down the opportunities. So yeah, several times during my 20s, I just gave up my job and my house. I was young, free and single at the time, no kids, no husband, no mortgage. So I just gave it all up and went traveling. I went and backpacked around Europe. I worked on a cruise ship for 18 months as a photographer. That was amazing. Traveled the world. I went and did some volunteer work out in Sri Lanka just after the tsunami in 2004. I did youth development work for several months out in Costa Rica. And I traveled Australia. That was the ultimate, really. I traveled Australia for 12 months, kind of working and living and working and living and partying and having a great time. And once I got that out of my system, I then kind of came back and went, yeah, you know what? I've been talking about creating a business for a long time now. Perhaps my time is now. So I've got no regrets. I kind of feel like I'm a little bit behind a lot of my contemporaries. If you look at the, the traditional, description of success, they may have been in a job now for 20 years, virtually paid off their mortgage and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I've got some amazing stories, stories in my bag and memories and stuff. And it's just about creating that freedom, and that was what I always wanted, to have the freedom to not do what ifs. And that kind of still rings true, really.
I mean, really, I suppose it comes down to, money and time and no object. What would you be doing?
Ooh, money and time and no object. Ooh, that's a good call. So I would focus on building more of a property portfolio with holiday properties, sort of different things. I'd like to get some properties in France. I'd like to maybe get just some over in West Wales. Love going over to West Wales, places that we could go on holiday, as a regular basis and use them as holiday homes. It's all about the quality of life with a family and spending time with the kids for me at the moment. Yeah, it's about the quality of life with the family for me at the moment, because the kids are so young. My youngest is 4. He's in school, half a day every day of the week at the moment, but as of next year he'll go full time. So that's it. My babies are gone and grown up and in school full time. So it's for me, yeah, it's about the quality of life with the kids and family, and being able to enjoy it and just go on the holidays and create the experiences and the memories for them is really important for me.
Out of curiosity then, I mean, what's been the best investment so far, and what's been the worst investment so far?
The best investment so far. Well, I can't say I've been massively successful on the shares. As I said before, some shares is something you really need to understand and study and follow, and that's not something that I've spent the time doing or invested the time in doing. The best investment so far has probably been in the personal development for myself, because that's given me the skills and the growth to be able to coach my team and build a team within my network marketing business, and also to become the kind of person that I want to become, and then have the relationship with money that I have in order to be able to invest in properties and grow the property portfolio. So as corny as that sounds, yeah, best investment is in me. Shares, I can take or leave.
Fair enough. I appreciate your honesty. I mean, where
They
does
are great for a lot of people, but yeah,
yeah,
not for me.
Yeah, no, and
Don't tell Karen though.
Yeah. Well, that's okay too. I mean, part of it is like, knowing your weaknesses, right? Know your strengths and know your weaknesses.
100%.
That's awareness.
And it's the same in business, focus on what you like doing within your business and outsource the rest, and, delegate out to other people the stuff that you're not good at, so that you can focus on doing what makes you happy and what you're good at, and, where your strengths are. And, for me, yeah, I've still got a few shares here and there, but they're not ones I ever look at with any great strength. I don't spend any time focusing on whether they're going up or down. They're just there. I forget about them, and hopefully in time they'll go up. And it's not an area that I particularly enjoy. I thought I would. I always thought I'd love to get into shares and understand it, and it would be amazing. But until you try something, you never quite know whether it's actually going to be any good for you. But it turns out it wasn't for me.
What's your share strategy? Are you where you sit on the risk profile? Are you an investor or are you a saver?
I'm trying to think of the different terms that Karen's taught me over the years. I'm someone that will just invest in dividend, and get the dividends paid into increasing more shares and create that kind of a compound effect over time. I'm a dividend strategy. I'm not one for buying and selling and spending hours on the markets. I mean, there's a lot of forex trading, and I'm not a trader at all. I'm not somebody that goes and buys and shares. I'm looking for the long-term dividend strategies. Simple, straightforward. It can tick along in the background. It doesn't need a huge amount of headspace from me, so that works.
Yeah, and that's great. And like I say, there's someone and something for everyone. It's some people, they can live and breathe it, and
absolutely. And hats off to them, fair play. But yeah, it's not me.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I mean, whatever the statistic is with shares is something crazy. Like, is it 90% of people lose 90% of the money in 90 days?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, especially on the trading side of things, or if you're going into the high risk, high level strategies, and all of it blew my mind. I've spent several hours, weeks almost, trying to get my head around all the candlestick charts and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, in one ear and out the other, and it didn't stick. And after a while, I stopped trying to make it stick. So, that's fine. That's not my strength. And, I'm sure if people wanted to know more about it, I'm sure I could put them in the direction of somebody who might be able to help. But yeah, as you say, know your strengths and weaknesses and know what works for you. And, don't feel guilty about the fact that, not everything is, you're not making everything work all the time,
Well,
that's what makes us human.
Yeah, absolutely. And quite often it's, winners quit. It's like they quit doing the stuff that they don't enjoy, that it's not their thing or whatever. And that's the thing, they quit as quickly as possible,
Totally.
and focus on the stuff that does bring them, the results or whatever, So that's a key strategy to learn, which most people seem to hide away from, really.
Yeah. And again, it's come back to that, awareness of, what works and what doesn't work for you, and understanding that we're all individual. I think one of the things that I've learned a lot over the years is you've got to be yourself when you're out there, just, creating the life that you want and the income streams that you want. You've got to be yourself. There's several times in my network marketing business where I've seen some amazing leaders who are just flying and they do some amazing stuff. One particular occasion, I went to a training and I listened to this amazing leader, and I copied. He's a Scouse guy and he's very kind of driven and determined. He was amazing. And I kind of transcribed everything. I had one of these little dictaphones and I recorded everything that he was saying. And then I went home because I can type, and I transcribed it all. And then I spent the next few weeks learning it word for word. And then I went to see somebody and I showed them this presentation, and I was, literally just giving this guy's spiel word for word. And it wasn't me, the person that I was talking to. He kind of sat back and he looked at me and went, "Are you all right? is something, is that what I've got to do?" And it's just, yeah, it absolutely didn't work. You've got to be yourself. You've got to find what works for you, and be proud of what is right for you. Find leaders and mentors that you can resonate with, and that relate to what you want to do and what you want to achieve. Because not every coach out there in the world, not every motivational speaker or every mentor, every person that can help you is going to be the right person to help you. You've got to find the ones that work for you and the ones that resonate with what you want to achieve and your beliefs and your your style. Really, that's a really important lesson that I've learned over the years.
No, it's, yeah, exactly. It's and that can change too, right? Just because where you're at in your journey today, it's very, very different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm working with both Karen and Alex Louise now, and that's fantastic, and they're amazing. Will I still be working with them both in 5 years' time? Who knows? Right now, I'd love to say yes, absolutely, because at the moment it's working for me. But who knows what's around the next corner? Life keeps throwing curveballs, and you never know what the next kind of roll of the dice is going to be. So
I think for me, that's where it was, it was key, especially with kids. I mean, weeks, months, years can flash by, because you're so busy being a parent, surviving, getting through life. So that's where these longer term strategies really come into play, that you blink and suddenly that was 5 years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, my personal story is with my youngest child. We've got 2 girls and a boy. 2 girls are 8 and 5, and our little boy turned 4 last Sunday. And his journey has been challenging, to say the least. He was born prematurely at 27 weeks because my waters went 2.5 weeks before that. And at 24.5 weeks, it's just unthinkable. And our world just ended. We had no idea I had a healthy pregnancy until that point. There's no rhyme or reason for my waters to break, but it did. And 2.5 weeks later, he was born with sepsis, bleeds on the brain. At 27 weeks, his tiny little purple dot at 2 pounds 6 ounces, and was on tubes and intubators and blood transfusions and all sorts. We spent 3 months in hospital, and the rest of the following year was a complete write-off for us, while we just battened down the hatches and tried to keep him and the others alive, just surviving. And we had no idea that was around the corner. And my photography during that time, this was another reason why I kind of ended up walking away from the photography, because that didn't serve me. I'd put in years and years and years of effort and time and development into building that business. And the second I had to go into hospital or needed to spend 3 months in hospital with my son, trying to keep him alive was, my photography business just cost me thousands, yet my network marketing business kept bringing in a residual income every single month, even though I was doing nothing with the business. I couldn't compute. I just had to focus on what I was doing. And that for me, that supported me through my time in hospital financially. It just meant I didn't have to worry about my contribution to the household income, and the pressure that takes off mentally, not having to worry about money when you've got so many other things going on in your world. You can't buy that kind of lack of, you can't buy that kind of relief, the lack of stress that it doesn't give you. They always say that money is one of the most stressful things out there, and when you've got enough other stress going on, then you don't need it elsewhere. And that that for me was very much a real wake-up call, and very much an awareness that you've got no idea what's around the next corner. I was so grateful. It kind of occurred to me to create a plan B, a backup plan, 6 years previously, and it really came into its own. So yeah, as we were saying before, take action, don't wait to start. Absolutely. People have spent months and months and months in isolation and not been able to go out and see anybody during COVID, but what's to say they don't get knocked down by a bus the first time they step outside the front door, and they do eventually go out again. You don't know what's around the next corner, so don't wait, just get started.
It's funny, and I'm into property 21 years, and some of them are my strategy is fairly plain, fairly vanilla, and it's always fun, but I mean, some of the stuff you forget, the stuff I've had 15, 16, even 21 years from the first, might only be making £100 a month, and all in. But you take that's every month. And by the way, there's also the house will increase in value, and then it creeps up, and then we remortgage and we pull the deposit back out again. So it essentially owes me nothing, and yet it coughs out £100 a month every month, regardless of whether I've been on holiday or I've had the hardest working month ever or whatever, and it just chugs away there. That suits my strategy. I'm on a buy and die strategy. That suits me fine.
And that's worked for you, and that's what your strategy is, and you're sticking to it. You're not trying to be everything to all people, and that's the key. You find what works for you and do it. But absolutely, I mean, even I think that's some of the things I've heard people talk about in terms of shares or bullion. If they're investing in coins, it's not gone up, or it's only made me a £5 in the last year. What's the point of it? It's the bigger picture. It's looking at what it's going to create over a period of time. And just knowing that you've got that money coming in, is irrespective of what you're doing or what life's throwing at you, the peace of mind and the freedom that gives you, that's the real game changer. That's what gives me goosebumps just thinking about. Definitely.
What's a great resource for people, whether it's reading books or podcasts or shows? What's a good go-to for people out there?
There's an amazing website that a company called Knowledge is King, which we use a lot throughout my network marketing company, but it's not specific to my network marketing company. They're a book personal development company. They do a book of the month resource, which is fantastic for people who are into personal development. Then I absolutely recommend getting themselves onto the book of the month. I love Audible as well. I use that on a monthly basis, and I download books because I don't get much time to sit and read, unfortunately, as much as I'd love. I try and do a little bit regularly, but as much as I love it, sitting and reading, by the time I do eventually get to sit down with a book, generally my nose ends up in the spine within about 30 seconds. So I love to listen, and for me, going out for a jog and putting on a motivational book or a personal development book is absolutely huge. I also, again, another mum hack here. I'm a mum. I don't get much time when I haven't got little people hanging off me or shouting at me or whatever. Even going to the bathroom is, not necessarily a trip I get to do by myself with any peace and quiet. But generally speaking, if I can get up in the morning and get a shower in, then I've got, 15, 20 minutes worth of peace and quiet without any interruptions. So I was given a Bluetooth waterproof speaker for my birthday, and that's brilliant because I can put my Audible books on while I'm in the shower and just have 20 minutes of uninterrupted audio time and personal development time. And it's just about picking out those little pieces of time that they can do. But by all means, follow my Facebook page, follow me on Instagram, the Passive Income Mum. It's a community that's growing and developing, and hopefully will become much more. And I'm always kind of keen to connect with people if they've just got questions to ask or anything that I can do to help them.
Cool. I mean, it's great to have it there. So tell us, I mean, your fire in the belly in 1 or 2 words, then what would it be?
What was that, sorry?
Your fire in the belly in 1 or 2 words, what would it be?
1 or 2 words. Passive income, helping others. I got multiples of 2 words.
Really sort of stretched it there, but I like it. Yeah.
Creating choices. There we are. Creating choices.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's a great option. Where give us a shout out on your social media handles and how people can actually get you.
Yep. So I'm at the Passive Income Mum. I've got a Facebook page and I've got an Instagram account. In time, there will hopefully be a blog setting up and things like that, but it's not certainly not this side of Christmas. But by all means, do please send me come and follow me on Facebook or Instagram, and feel free to drop me a message and communicate if people have enjoyed our conversation here today. That would be great. I'd love to hear. I'd love to get some feedback, and if people got any conversations they want to have around what we talked about today. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for a virtual cuppa. Always. I've always got a cup of coffee here, although this particular one's gone cold, so I don't bother with that.
Oh, I love it. And what final message would you like to leave with people?
Take control of your own destiny. I think figure out where you want to go and then just start making it happen. Don't figure out the how, just take the first step, make the decision, and then the rest will fall into place.
Brilliant. Hazel, it's been a privilege to have you on. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best and look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity, Pete. I've really enjoyed it.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.